Good morning. Okay, so let's do a little bit of background about us and how we came about our farmhouse. So it's really windy, so I'm trying to stay out of the wind. But so about 2 years ago, 2 years ago in August, and it's now December, we were living in town. We had bought a house in a development, but not a very big development, and it was on the outskirts of town. So we were enjoying the in town / kind of in the country life, kind of just quiet, nice neighborhood. And we had looked at this land 6 or 7 years before this, and they had sold it to one of the other neighbors. And at that time, this land had an old farmhouse right here. And we weren't really sure if we liked the house that much, so we were going back and forth if we would tear it down or keep it or rebuild it or remodel it. And I was always like, oh, I gotta build a new house and all the things. And then fast forward 6 or 7 years, we didn't build it, but our house was about 5 years old. And we were having issues with this and that and the next thing, and just normal homeowner things. And then this land came up for sale, and it's literally, I'll show you. So we have a long driveway. Let me get out of the wind here. So we have a long driveway. And the thing that really sold us on this land is that Keith's parents, so the farm that he grew up on, literally is right there in those trees. So that's Keith's home place that he grew up on, and this is our driveway. So our driveway actually comes down and splits. You can go to their house or you can come to our house. So we literally couldn't get any closer to his parents and where he grew up. And the real kicker is that this place is also where Keith's dad grew up. His dad's dad had owned it at one point and then sold it to the person that we were originally going to buy it from, but then we ended up buying it from the neighbor who bought it 6 or 7 years ago. In that time, I had actually been diagnosed with cancer and had a battle with cancer and everything. And so I always say like that the more older I get, the more I start to realize that it's all in God's time. Like it really truly is, because if we would have bought this place while I was going through my cancer, I don't know if we would have been able to make it through and would have been able to keep it. But I can't say that for sure because we didn't live here when I went through my cancer. But it's crazy to me because shortly, I don't know, about 3 or 4 years after my cancer is when this place came back on the market, and we bought it. So as soon as we heard it was going back on the market, we were like, okay, we were planning on actually staying in our old house for a very long time. We didn't think that moving out to the country was going to be in the cards for us and everything else. And so when this land came up for sale, my husband looked at me and he's like, can we please, we need to please try. And so I started calling the banks and I started doing all the things and I started the process. And the day that they posted the for sale sign at the end of that driveway is the day that we put a contingency offer in that if our house sold, we would buy this place. So they accepted. They didn't really give us any price wiggle room though, because it was the very first offer and the fact that we were asking for a contingency. So we paid full price of what they were asking, and they gave us 90 days, I think, to sell our old house. So we sold our house, and we bought this place. So when we bought it though, the old farmhouse, which is right between the straw and the other house, is where the old farmhouse was sitting, and they had already tore it down. The neighbor who had bought the land tore the old farmhouse down, so when we purchased the land, it no longer had a house. So since that was the thing, and we literally sold our old house the same exact day that we bought this place, we moved into our camper. So we moved into our camper. We didn't know what we were going to do. Building a house is kind of expensive and stuff. So we just were like, oh, we don't. So I'll show you what we decided to do. So this place has a barn. So we have, sorry, it's really windy, so I'm trying to stay out of the wind. But we have a barn, nice big barn. This is our driveway. And then we have a huge shed out here, and that's all it came with, like, and then wide open spaces. So we are actually surrounded by 3 fields. So this is our long driveway, and then the barn, and then the shed, and then we moved a trailer house out here. So we lived in our camper. We stayed in our camper for a couple months until we decided what we were going to do. We were originally thinking to build living quarters in the shed, but then the price of that was a lot more than what we had expected it to be. I think that they had quoted us about $25,000 to build living quarters in the shed, and with the machinery and stuff, he's like, I would really like to have my shed space eventually. I don't want to permanently live in the shed. So to me, the $25,000 was really wasted money, because it would be a temporary living, and then when we were done living in there, we were just going to tear everything down. Where with a trailer house, we don't mind our skirting, so we did it as cheap as we could. We actually redid every single window, got replaced. We tore out the interior walls, and we put sheetrock in the walls, or on the walls. We ripped up the floor, put thicker pieces of plywood down on the floor. We redid the floors, so we fixed it up. So the outside we didn't really do much with, and we actually got some leftover steel from some construction jobs from some people we know around here, and so our skirting is actually multicolored, but we didn't care because we knew it was temporary living. So the outside, we didn't do anything with the outside of the house, just because it is temporary living, and it's fine. Besides the ugly color, it's structurally sound. So we moved into a trailer house, and that is where we have lived for 2 years now. Thanksgiving 2 years ago is when we moved into it. We finished all the flooring and all the things. We had to put a water heater and a water softener and all the things in it. So that is our current house. And then we were really hee-hawing about, and our loan for this place was only a 5-year loan, which is an arms loan. And so after 5 years, if we didn't build a house, we could do our interest rate could go up, our interest rate could go down. It really depended what it was at that point. But we knew we wanted to get a house out here. That's why we did the thing, and we wanted time to pay stuff off. So that's what we focused on. And then somebody had suggested to me that, why don't we start looking at older houses? And I was like, I don't know, but I've always had a thing for old farmhouses. So when we were actually looking at house plans, I've always wanted a front porch. So it was a must. We were going to build, and it was going to have a front porch. That was one of my number one priorities. And so we started kind of hee-hawing around on the idea. And so I started looking at local building movers in our area, and we found Anderson, who actually the owner, Neil Anderson, goes to church with my dad, and he had a bunch of houses on his website. So we went and kind of looked at some in the spring, and then when we were talking to him, he had kind of told us that there actually might be a house in your same town that's looking to build a house, and they had called him to see how much it would be to get rid of his old house. I don't think they wanted to see it tore down and stuff, but I don't know that whole backstory. But so we were like, okay, so we got arranged, and we went and looked at the house, and in April or May, we said that we wanted it. I don't know if you can see, but it has a front porch. So it's a 1900s farmhouse. It has an addition on the backside here, and we told them we'd take it in May or April. They built their house, and with a bunch of delays in the last couple of weeks with the electrical companies and everything else, we finally got it moved. So it got here yesterday. It's sitting like that. It will stay like that until spring. In Minnesota, we get a lot of snow and it gets really cold, and we didn't want to dig a hole. So this right here is actually where the house will be when we get the foundation in, and the front porch will actually be facing this way. So it'll be facing our shed. But this is where the house will be, right here behind me. We put corn straw down so that we could dig a hole in this. It will help insulate the ground, and we'll be able to dig a hole in the early springtime, hopefully. So this is where the house will go. Well, the foundation will get dug, and they'll just move it right on top of the foundation. And so, yeah. So this winter, the plan is to rip up carpet. I want to see what the hardwood floors underneath look like. And then we'll be doing flooring. We are going to redo the kitchen. The bottom kitchen cabinets are going to kind of just get moved around. We're going to add on a bathroom, and eventually we're going to add on a mudroom and a laundry room and a garage as well, and stuff. But so that's exciting. So we will be sharing our entire process of everything. We're DIYers, so we like to do as much as we can. I know there is a construction company that we have hired that's actually my husband's friends with, and my husband worked in the construction field for 15 years, so he knows everybody around here who does construction. And so we did hire somebody to come out and do the foundation, but my husband will actually be helping them. And then we plan on doing a bunch of the stuff this winter ourselves, and then in the spring when they do the addition is when our friend will be coming out and putting the addition up for us, and then we will be doing the flooring and stuff like that. Once it's structurally sound on the outside and everything's weatherproofed, we will be going in and doing everything on the inside to everything. So yeah, watch to follow our journey.